COVID-19 has taken over 1 million lives across the world. It is the worst kind of pandemic the world has ever experienced. In India, we are experiencing the second wave and it's really scary because either we have got it or someone close to us has. But we still don't know where it came from. How did the virus originate? Was it born naturally or was it leaked from a lab? Or did it come from the wet market of Wuhan or straight from the wildlife? In this video, we shall unravel the most spoken about theories vis-a-vis the birth of COVID-19. Stay tuned with me and watch the full video to know about the details. Alright, in this video I shall present some facts and a set of reasonable conjectures based on which you can make a decision as to what could be the possible conclusion. There are so many clues here, but no conclusions. The video will also have certain scientific evidences and basic science explanations that you all have to bear with. The two theories that we have on the table are 1. The Wuhan wet market theory and 2. The lab leak theory. Let's talk about the first one. After some cases of COVID-19 were reported in China, Chinese authorities told that many such cases were seen previously in the wet market of Wuhan. The wet market of Wuhan is a place where wild animals and birds' meat is sold, including animals and birds like bats, ostriches, foxes, even crocodiles. Well, just to give you the feel, here are some footages of it, courtesy the Vox. Editor, please dikha do bhai.
Animals at the bottom are often soaked with all kinds of liquid, animal excrement, pus, blood, or whatever the liquid they're receiving from the animals above.
That's exactly how a virus can jump from one animal to another. If that animal then comes in contact with or is consumed by a human, the virus could potentially infect them. And if the virus then spreads to other humans, it causes an outbreak.
So when Chinese authorities reported that many such cases were seen in the wet market of Wuhan, experts were reminded of the 2002 SARS epidemic, which originated from the wet market, particularly from the bats. It jumped to civet or civet cats, which was sold in the market, and from civet cats it was transferred to humans. They were also reminded of the 2012 MERS virus, which came from camels. The viruses seem to belong to the family called as beta coronaviruses that even the COVID-19 belongs to. The WHO team, which went to investigate the emergence of virus in the wet market, they did not completely agree with the wet market theory or simply from the fact that the COVID was born in the wet market, as it was believed that the virus originated or emerged from the bats, then it jumped to another host which could be any animal or bird and then to humans. Hence, until we don't know which animal or host is it exactly in the middle, we cannot completely put the blame on the poor wet market. Yet the experts believe that it has to be reinstated and reproved as the recently emerged theories have altered the scenarios a bit. You must be wondering why Chinese people consume wild animals. I'll tell you that at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Moving on to the next theory we have at hand. Wuhan Institute of Virology, located in Wuhan, China, is one of the premier research labs in the country and is known to lead researchers and experiments. And most people, even experts, claim that COVID leaked from this lab. Though this theory was buried under the hatchet due to lack of evidence, it has again come into light, and top epidemiologists and biologists have called for a thorough reinvestigation of it. They have even questioned the previous WHO report on the same. US President Biden has also given a green signal to this. But why? Dr. Anthony Fauci, an infectious disease expert from the USA, told in an interview to National Geographic that he was not convinced that virus was just born in the wild. The first thing we could relate to is the fact that 3 staffers or people working in the Wuhan Institute of Virology had become ill in 2019, and this illness had pretty much the symptoms similar to COVID-19. The next thing is that the scientists who studied the virus closely have put forth a fact. If you have observed, the coronavirus has protein spikes on it, and it is seen and it has been observed in the labs that these protein spikes bind tightly to ACE2. What is ACE2? ACE2 is a protein on cell surfaces found in humans and animals. The scientists have said that this kind of binding seen in COVID is not biochemically ideal, which put forth the doubt that if virus was created synthetically or not. The widely spoken furin cleavage site, a site where viral spike protein is cut, facilitating infection into a human cell, was created by an out-of-sequence insertion of a small piece of DNA, resulting in yet another non-ideal biochemical reaction. I would like to bring to your notice an article dated February 19, 2020 in the very popular medical science journal The Lancet. It was signed by 27 scientists. The article, apart from appreciating the work of Chinese experts on finding the source of the virus, also disapproved the quote-unquote rumors and misinformation about COVID-19 having a natural origin or was born in the wild. Also, please pay attention, the scientists in this article did not give any supporting evidence for their argument. In March 2020, another article was published in Nature Medicine, which is another important medical journal, and this article provided many arguments as to why virus was born naturally against the theory of lab leak. At least these guys gave some evidences. But are you getting my point? Doesn't it look like the scientific community is up to something fishy? The scientists have also pointed out that it is absolutely possible for a virus to be genetically modified or manipulated because it is widely practiced and DNA sequencing is a thing. It is also seen that China has been experimenting with over 50,000 animal samples across 30 species to prove the natural origin theory in the wildlife, but all of these species have tested negative. We could also see that the Wuhan Institute of Virology had been handling various viruses which looked close to the SARS-CoV-2 which they collected in southern China. Chalo, let's agree that the virus did not leak from the lab. It could have possibly occurred as a result of infection during the collection in the wild or with experimenting with these animals in the lab, not necessarily modifying their genome. This could be gauged with the fact that the 6 miners had fallen ill after they went to work in a bat cave in China. Also remember the 3 staffers of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, they fell sick in 2019 after their visit to bat cave in the southern Chinese province of Yunnan. It could be believed that after this something went wrong and the pandemic set off to destroy the world. There is a group of people called as Drastic, or the Decentralized Radical Autonomous Search Investigating Team for COVID-19. Some of these people are also Indians. These guys have suggested that China is trying to obfuscate the evidence from physically even removing journalists from the lab and even wiping online documents and archives. These guys have played an important role and became very popular online by providing evidences, articles and even the hashtag Wuhan Lab leak, setting off another investigation regarding the same. Dr. Anthony Fauci has asked China to bring out all the documents in the open, and this has to be investigated thoroughly using lab notebooks, projects, manuscripts, transcripts and even viral sequences. China has been least cooperative in helping World Health Organization investigate the matter. The popular scientist Shi Hengli, also called as the Bat Lady, has given evidences that none of her lab samples match COVID and all of her team members tested negative. But the investigators claim that they have not had access to everything they need. The most importantly was the record of research they have conducted on coronaviruses. They need to show medical records of lab workers in Wuhan, data on early cases and so many such things. These are certain things which are giving clues to the question that whether the virus leaked from the lab somehow or the other. Whether it is natural, whether it is zoonotic or not, it is necessary to question the consequences of our interactions with the environment, be it the industrialization of intensive breeding, safety protocols on collecting and experimenting potentially pandemic viruses, and proliferation of high security laboratories, particularly those near big cities like Wuhan. A report by the Hindu Business Line suggests that we need to equip facilities that study viruses with safety systems as demanding as those for studying nuclear energy. This could include introduction of biological black boxes, similar to the flight recorders which allow investigators to recreate the final moments of the plane incident or the plane accident. Access to certain high-risk labs could be made dependent on detailed description of experiments, sequencing data could be systematically archived, laboratory air filters could be collected, and if there is a suspicion of pathogen dissemination, the genetic material on the surface could be sequenced. Nothing of this sort has happened in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and nothing of this sort was provided to the investigators of the World Health Organization. Such new safety measures should be put in place internationally to limit the risk of future pandemics. And as for SARS-CoV-2, it is important to trace the exact origin in order to understand precisely what flaws may have led to its spread and what exactly caused the birth of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, this is the most important theory that's floating in the air right now about COVID being leaked from a lab. And if you have more comments on this, write to us in the comment section. Now the answer to the question, why do Chinese people consume wild animals, or why the Chinese are involved in wildlife trade. In 1970s, China faced a bad famine scenario, and the communist government, which controlled the factors of production, failed to feed the people who were suffering. And hence, in 1978, the government allowed private farming. But the private companies monopolized on this scenario. Hence, the small peasants or the small farmers started to catch wild animals and raise them, or they did this to sustain themselves or even feed on them. The government encouraged it because it helped the people survive. Even though the government brought in the Wildlife Protection Act, in China, it allowed animals to be used for domestication and breeding. I'm talking about wild animals, and the government allowed these wild animals for domestication and breeding, as they called these animals as the resources owned by the state and not natural resources. Was born this huge industry called as the wet market. People fed on these animals and they traded them as commodities. Animals even included beasts like bears and tigers. When these animals were brought into the limelight and in the urban shade, they also came with a peril. They could fall sick and they could spread the ailment to others, even humans. They could spread their viruses to others because humans were in close contact with the wild. For example, the SARS virus that was traced to the wet market. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the content, if you have more things to tell us, if you have more ideas about where COVID came from, feel free to write us in the comment section and we can talk. And if you have liked the video, press the like button, share the video with your friends so that they are able to understand what exactly are these theories about. And don't forget to subscribe to NewsHamster for regular content. And of course, visit www.thenewshamster.com for latest updates and articles. Until next time, stay safe all of you. Jai Hind.